All right, let's get into it. We're about to pull apart the very blueprints of our reality. I'm talking about the invisible systems that shape everything, from the schools we go to the stories we tell ourselves. We're going to uncover how these frameworks define who we are and who we have the chance to become. This quote from a study on education is the perfect place to start because it reveals something pretty startling. Our systems aren't neutral. They have preferences. In this specific case, the school system was set up to value traits that girls were just more likely to show, which gave them a leg up. Now, this isn't really about gender. It's about a framework that was designed with a certain type of person in mind, and because of that, it creates winners and losers by default. And that right there brings us to the biggest question we're going to tackle. We talk all the time about broken systems, but what if they're not broken? What if all the inequalities, all the frustrations we see, what if those are the intended outcomes? This way of looking at it challenges us to stop trying to just patch up cracks and instead to really look at the foundation of the whole structure. To do that, let's think of these frameworks as operating systems. Seriously, so many of our modern institutions, education, government, even wellness, are basically running on outdated code. They were built for a totally different time with different goals, and they just keep spitting out these results that feel deeply, deeply unequal by design. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. This slide shows how these systems have two faces. On one side, you've got the functional face. It looks modern, right? It follows all the procedures, it promises equality for all. But then there's this other side, the dysfunctional face. This is the side that makes huge inequalities feel normal, the one that treats long-standing problems as just the way things are. But here's the critical part. These aren't two separate systems. They're two sides of the exact same coin. In fact, that shiny functional side often needs the dysfunctional one to keep things exactly as they are. So if these systems are designed to work this way, how do they actually do it? How did they create and maintain all that inequality? Well, there's this powerful social process, kind of like a hidden logic running in the background, and it's called the logic of devaluation. Devaluation is basically when a system, through the main stories it tells, just strips certain groups or ideas of their worth. Think about it. Things like non-traditional medicine, or peer-led mental health support, or even the arts in schools. What do they have in common? They usually operate outside the official systems. And when they get devalued, the inequality that comes next, like a lack of funding or access, doesn't feel like a deliberate choice. It just feels natural, inevitable. And this slide, it perfectly lays out the formula for how it works. It's like an equation. First, you get polarization, creating that us versus them mindset. Then, you introduce scarcity, this idea that there's not enough to go around, whether it's money, recognition, or even just tolerance. That leads straight to othering, where certain people or their needs are framed as a burden. And the final result? Diminishment. Their value is actively pushed down. This isn't random. It's a predictable process that holds the old system in place. So if the old frameworks are built on this logic of devaluation, how do we ever break free? Well, the solution isn't just about tweaking the system we already have. It means we have to build entirely new ways of knowing, of being, and of connecting with the world around us. So the key here is this massive paradigm shift, especially in places like education. It's a move from epistemology to ontology. See, for centuries, education has been all about epistemology. What do you know? It's just been about transferring facts. But this new approach focuses on ontology. Who are you becoming? It sees learning not as some abstract mental exercise, but as something that is lived, something that's embodied, something that's connected to our entire self. This is what researchers call the ontological turn. The goal isn't just to pump a student full of facts anymore, it's to support a person as they grow, as they figure out who they are. It's about helping them develop their own agency, their critical eye, and their ability to move through the world as a whole, complete person. Learning becomes a journey of transformation. And this whole approach is rooted in teaching methods that really center a student's own life, their own experiences, their own culture. Some call this humanizing pedagogies. It's not about forcing knowledge on people from the top down. It's about engaging people, especially those who've been pushed to the margins by the old systems, in their own transformation. It's a recognition that real learning is tied to our identity, our community, and our own liberation. Now, this all sounds really great in theory, but how do we make it happen? How do we actually build systems that support this ontological turn? Well, a really powerful answer comes from changing how we think about stories. We need to start seeing stories, narrative, as a type of infrastructure. Just think about that for a second. Narrative infrastructure. It's a wild idea, right?
But just like a city needs roads and bridges to function, a community needs frameworks that support its emotional and psychological health. This concept says that stories, art, and shared practices are those frameworks. They're the essential structures we use to make sense of everything, to handle our emotions, and to build up our resilience.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. I mean, look at community art galleries. They're not just rooms with pictures on the wall. They're places where local stories get told and get validated. Peer-led mental health services do the same thing by valuing the story of someone's lived experience over a simple clinical diagnosis. All of these are examples of narrative infrastructure in action, building wellness from the ground up. The real power here is that these methods completely disrupt the old systems. They don't run on that logic of devaluation. Instead, by creating new stories, new shared experiences, they build entirely new systems from the ground up, systems based on connection, democracy, and genuine mutual support. So, all of this, from the outdated operating systems to the power of stories, it all brings us back to you, because understanding these huge society-wide frameworks is absolutely essential to understanding the invisible architecture of your own life. And that's really the main takeaway. It's an invitation to start asking some new questions. What are the stories that you've been told about yourself, about your potential? What are the systems at your job or in your community or even in your family that have these hidden preferences? What stories are you living inside of? And are they actually serving you?
Because here's the bottom line. You can't change a system you can't see. Recognizing these invisible frameworks, actually seeing the blueprints of your reality, that is the first and most powerful step you can take. Once you see them, then you have the power to question them, to challenge them, and ultimately to start the work of building new, more empowering frameworks for yourself and for everyone around you.